What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to Taking Command with Josh Taylor here on the JTFB YouTube channel. And the NFL Combine is officially over as it wrapped up last night. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some players that the Washington Commanders have confirmed to have met with at the Combine, and then also show you how they performed while they were in Indy. Such an exciting time. A lot of people hate the Combine, but I love it. If you really think about how much impact it does have on the draft, it's actually a lot. Look at what happened last year. A guy like Jalen Wydermyer, who was one of the top tight ends in the draft, really got pushed back because of his numbers in the Combine were awful. And then you take a look at Trayvon Walker, who was projected like a top 10 guy, goes first overall. Not just because of the Combine, but it was a huge part in why he got drafted so high. So absolutely, the Combine has some sway in draft stock, and should it have as much as it does? Say what you want. I really rely on the tapes, but I think the Combine is a good source for really seeing guys that weren't used properly in college. So you take a look at a guy like a Marvin Mims at Oklahoma at wide receiver. He's so much better than what you saw at Oklahoma. And you can say that for a lot of these guys. So I'm going to go through it. I'm old fashioned. So I'm watching the Combine. I'm taking notes. I'm writing stuff down. I'm not a typer or anything like that. I love just handwriting these notes. And I was supposed to be at the Combine, got approved for it. But it was just really short notice. I was really sick beginning of the week. So just kind of recovering from that. Just a lot going on right now. So working on a lot of big things. I just couldn't make it out to the Combine, but still just a blessing to be approved for it. I cannot wait to be there next year. Very much so looking like I will be at the NFL draft in Kansas City this year. So just got a lot of big things cooking up. So follow me on Twitter too. I can't even tell you how much I have coming up with this offseason with free agency on the channel. Subscribe, like if you enjoy what you see. But like I said, guys, right there at Josh Taylor FB. If you don't follow me on Twitter already, got a ton of stuff. Just gave away a Why Not Washington breaking t-shirt. Just got mine in this morning. So just a lot of exciting things. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Let's get right to it. This isn't every single player that Washington met with, obviously, but these are people that I confirmed with, other people or other media members confirmed with, or got videos of players saying they met with the Washington Commanders at the Combine. So this is just a list that I made of the ones that I saw or I confirmed with other people. And like I said, I have some relative athletic scores to kind of pull up to show you some of these guys. But number one, let's start on the defensive side of the ball. One of my favorite linebackers in the draft. He was my favorite to talk to at the Senior Bowl. Had a pretty long interview with him and then talked to him on the field, but just stood out in practice. Just a super athletic, raw linebacker. That's Daiyan Henley out of Washington State, converted from a wide receiver to a linebacker. And he really talked about how much that really helped him. But this guy has so much upside as a linebacker. And if you watch my free agent video, there's a lot of free agents for Washington in the linebacker room. Of course, we're starting to sign some of those depth guys in right now. Still don't know about what Cole Holcomb looks like. It sounds like they really want to bring him back. But regardless, I think we need such an upgrade at that linebacker spot. I have him as like a third-round guy right now. Wouldn't mind that at all, getting him in the third round, because you really do need some linebacker help. You need some kind of upgrade next to Jamin Davis. So I was excited to see that we are doing our homework on a guy like Daiyan Henley, who's just super athletic. Pop on his tapes from last year. You'll see a lot of big-time plays. But let's move to the corners now. That's the only linebacker I confirmed of. None on the defensive line, but a ton of DBs, especially at corner. And the first one, I mean, you see the flag right here, the Penn State flag. Joey Porter Jr., who I'm a huge fan of, said that he talked to the Washington Commanders the most. He said actually talked to them a lot at the Combine, which was exciting because I really do like Joey Porter Jr. As you know, I don't have him as the best fit for Washington because he does play a lot of man, a lot of press. That's what he really prides himself on. You know, his length, his, how physical he is at the line. I really want someone else that I'm going to talk about here soon. But let me pull up the relative athletic score for Joey Porter Jr. because he is such a freak athlete. 6'2", 193 pounds, 17 on the bench. Really good speed grade, 4.46 for his length and size. I'll take it all day long. Broad jump of 10.09. Arm length 34, hand size of 10. That's what really stood out to me. And when you stand next to this guy, you see his arm length, you see his wingspan, which is ridiculous. he just, once he puts hands on a wide receiver, it's so hard for them to get into the release, get into their stem, and really get their route going, which is why Penn State played him so close to the line so much. So he didn't play that much zone, which I really want to see more of. His footwork in zone when he's trying to recover or when he's trying to get into those routes, to me, can be a little sloppy at times. So that's my really only concern with Joey Porter Jr. He's my third corner in the draft right now. Still a really good corner. I think he's better than Cam Smith. I think he's way better than Kelee Ringo. But I'll say my number 2 corner, really close to number 1. Number 1's Devin Witherspoon, who apparently we did meet with, but I didn't confirm it, so I didn't put him on the list. That's just what people were saying. But someone we, in fact, did meet with is my favorite pick at pick 16, if he even makes it there, and that is Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. 9.5-inch hands. I mean, look at that. 9.99 relative athletic score. And shout out to @MathBomb, by the way. Follow him on Twitter. He's the one that has created this scale, created this website that is such a key factor in this combine. So @MathBomb, shout him out. Go check him out on Twitter. This is where you get all the scores. I know you've seen it. But 9.99, a 4.38 40-yard dash. He had 11.01 broad jump, which I want to say was the one of the best for the corners, but his relative athletic score was the highest out of all the corners. So everything together, the 9.99 with the 32-inch arms, 6'1", 197, everything came out to be the number 1 corner in the combine. And like I said, for me, it has to be one of the top picks at pick 16. Washington was a top 3 zone coverage defense last year, right there with the Eagles. And you put in a guy like Christian Gonzalez on the outside. I don't care who you move to the inside. You put Christian Gonzalez on the outside, and it gets so much better. Washington is just in a dire need. People, for some reason, don't really think so, but they are in a dire need of that just lockdown perimeter corner that you can really build off of that foundational piece. I think Kendall Fuller's got 1 more year left in him on his contract, and he's been great the last 2 years. Ben St-Juste has a lot of potential. Injuries are kind of hindering him there. So there is some question marks. But I'm telling you, get a guy like Christian Gonzalez and put him on the outside. Man, I'm a big fan of his game. He does everything so well. I honestly do not see a weak point for Christian Gonzalez. Great in the run stop. He's a sure tackler. Probably the best ball skills out of all the corners in the draft. And like I said, he's best in the zone out of everyone in the draft. And he's still really good in man coverage as well. But when you're talking off or soft press or bail, for me, he marks all the check boxes, and that's the perfect fit for me in Washington. So we met with 2 of the top 3 corners. So Washington absolutely agrees with us that we need corners, and they've been getting mocked to Washington. Joey Porter Jr. and Christian Gonzalez have both been getting mocked to Washington from the Washington people, like our media team, but also outside people like Mel Kiper, Jordan Reed, Matt Miller. Some of these guys have been putting one of these corners to Washington pretty often. The next guy, another corner, this is the last corner I got on the list. He's been one of the fastest risers out of all the corners. Once again, big-time standout at the Senior Bowl. Just really love talking to this guy. Football smart, just a high IQ guy. But on tape, the combine numbers here really confirmed what I saw on tape. 6'2", 198, 34 arms. Once again, ridiculous. The longest broad jump out of all of the corners, 11.06, a 41.5-inch vertical. So he's got the agility grade. He's got that short speed that you want. Now look at the 40, the 4.53, the 20-yard split, the 10-yard split. For me, that's what I saw on tape is that 40-yard dash. He didn't have that long speed that I really want in a corner for some of these, these 9 routes that you'll see in the NFL. But man, this guy is so good. Once again, another long-armed physical guy, kind of like Joey Porter Jr. is. Once he gets paws on you, your route is in a lot of trouble. So I saw a lot of good tapes going against Xavier Hutchinson, going against Quentin Johnston, some of these top wide receivers in the Big 12. But man, I got to be honest, this guy just really impressed the heck out of me. I could see him being a late second, maybe an early 3rd round guy. So maybe if Washington misses out on one of these top 3, top 4 corners in the 1st round, maybe 2nd round, they see something else they like a tight end, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. But some of these, I wouldn't say later round guys, but a third round guy and a Julius Brents would be a great option too. This DB class is hands down the best I've ever seen. It's not even close. Now, one more guy that Washington talked to DB wise is Christopher Smith out of Georgia. For me, really fills in what that Bobby McCain role would be. He can play single high safety. He can play up close. You can put him in the nickel. Another guy that was at the Senior Bowl that was locking dudes down, whether it was tight ends or wide receivers in the slot. Just impressed the heck out of me. And he was just one of these big time leaders at Georgia, kind of overlooked a little bit because that Georgia defense was so good. But just another guy that Washington met with at the Senior Bowl thoroughly, but then also at the Combine, met with him once again. So there is a lot of interest there. I have him as probably a third, fourth round guy, probably more towards the, it's really hard to tell, but maybe in the late third, early fourth for me, that could really come in and fill in that role. So say they get an outside corner, they get some offensive linemen, maybe a tight end in the third or whatever, flip those around however you want, and then get a DB like him that can really come in and fill in multiple positions. I'm cool with it. Now, that's the defense. So good bit of guys, but the offense is so much more, which honestly, in my opinion, I like seeing because we have so many holes to fill on the offensive line, and that's where a lot of the focus seemed to be on for Washington in the Combine. So starting out the offensive line, O'Cyrus Torrence, probably the best guard in the draft to a lot of people. He's still my number one guard. I have Steve Avila right behind him at guard too. But O'Cyrus Torrence, 6'5", 330 pounds, 33 7/8 inch arms, 11 1/4 hands. Those are just giant hands. Once again, I love a guard that put paws on you in the chest, hit you hard, kind of take your breath away from these D tackles, and just get that leverage. An 83 7/8 wingspan. Potential first-round pick. I think he is absolutely worthy of a first-round pick. 16 might be a little too high for a lot of people. But really, what's the difference in getting a guy at 16, getting a guy at 20-something? If you can trade back and do it, absolutely. But if not, and you have to take him at 16, like what's the difference? That's one thing that's always bothered me. People are like, oh, I don't know, 16 is too high. 20-something would be a little better. Well, then what's the difference of getting him at 16 or 20-something? If you don't have a trade back partner, just get him at 16. Just get your guy. So filling in that right guard spot, though, would be crucial. Trey Turner's got to go. Once again, he's a free agent. Don't see him coming back. Washington really wants to beef up that offensive line. They've been talking about it all offseason. Obviously, as fans, we know that it needs to be beefed up as well. But then also center John Michael Schmitz, who's the number one center in the draft by a pretty large margin, in my opinion. 6'3.5", 301, best center. Just mauls dudes, has great tape, looked really good at the Combine. And at the Senior Bowl in these one-on-one drills, I mean, he's putting guys in the dirt. I didn't see him get beat on any reps, honestly. He said that he's met with Washington pretty thoroughly throughout this whole process. So that's encouraging too. What does Chase Roullier look like? Once again, you got Tyler Larson, some of these guys that are free agents. But Chase Roullier, he's only played, 10 games in the last 2 seasons, and he's also a huge cap hit next season. Forgot what the exact number is. Chase Roullier, 2023, $12.8 million cap hit, 8.1 mil dead cap hit. Post June 1st, you'd split that up. So depends what you really are depending on with Chase Roullier with the injuries and everything. It's just not reliable enough. Maybe they want to beef it up, get a guy like John Michael Schmitz, who's going to be a long-term foundational piece at that center spot. Another center, Oluwatimi out of Michigan, transferred from the UVA, goes to Michigan, 6'2.5", 309. The Outland Trophy winner. She was the best offensive lineman and defensive lineman in college football last year. I think he was phenomenal. Kind of projects as a later round. They're like a third, fourth round guy, probably a fourth round guy, because his playing strength just isn't there yet. And that's the one thing that really pops out on tape. He did play on the best offensive line, the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, best offensive line in college football last year. So everyone on that line is good, but still another later round option if they want to get that center. But my guy here, the best right tackle in the entire draft. I think he's a top 3 tackle, really close with Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, Peter Skronsky. I've got this guy right there. I said it back in December. Don't be surprised if this guy goes from a middle to late second round pick to a top 20 guy. And it seems like it's going that way because Mel Kiper mocked us drafting this guy at pick 16 in his most recent draft. And that is my guy, Darnell Wright, out of Tennessee, the right tackle, 6'5", 333. Really carried that weight really well, though. Ran a 5.0140. Excellent time. The 20-yard split was great. Good broad jump. Finished with a 9.47 relative athletic score. I'm telling you, the best tape I've watched the entire draft process was Darnell Wright versus Alabama, and he shut down my guy, Will Anderson, to the point where they had to move him to the other line to get Will Anderson going. Then they put Dallas Turner on that side, who's going to be a top 10, top 15 pick next year, another edge rusher, and shut him down. So Darnell Wright, flawless tape. For me, he'd be that long-term right tackle, and he's worthy of a first-round pick. People are saying, no, I think that's too high. I don't think so. Watch the tapes. Watch what this guy's doing. I think he's absolutely worthy of that 16 pick. Get your guy. If you miss out on a Christian Gonzalez on one of these corners, but then also the corner draft is so deep you can get one in the second round, I think Darnell Wright would be one of those picks. There's like 3 picks that I have at 16 that are like dream picks for me. Between Brian Branch, Christian Gonzalez, and Darnell Wright. I might add another 1 or 2 to it, but Darnell Wright's absolutely one of those picks for me. We need that right tackle spot locked down. I think they'll keep Charles Leno on the left side, but for me, that right side is where, maybe we move Cosme to the right guard. It's something a lot of people have been talking about, something I've mentioned before. That's definitely in the cards. Also, another guy, DC native, 6'4", 312 pounds, Anton Harrison. Ran a 4.99 40-yard dash. That was the second fastest out of the linemen. Projected starting left tackle. Only be 21 years old by the time the season starts. So a big-time upside, raw guy that they could really build. You know that Washington loves those native guys, those local DMV kids. He said that he would love to come back here, play for them. This is the team that his parents root for. This is it'd be a dream for him to play here. So it's good hearing that another guy would want to come play here for Washington just because he is local. This is like the team he grew up rooting for. Also, Jordan McFadden out of Clemson. They ran a lot of RPO, so something I think Eric Bieniemy is going to run a good bit of with Sam Howell. Projected starting left tackle, got a lot of really great speed on him. And then on the other side of that Oklahoma line, Wanya Morris. Projected starting right tackle. They ran a lot of a zone blocking scheme, which I think would be great for the run game. I think it's ideal for what we would be looking for. He's got a lot of really good strength, really good leverage. Someone maybe in that 3rd, 4th round pick kind of range. So really refreshing that Washington is absolutely doing their part and looking for the offensive line really filling in that need. So outside of that, we've got some guys on offense, some playmakers. And I've said this a couple times, and I said it on Twitter the other day, it was like 2 days ago, that there's probably about 5 tight ends in this draft that are better than any tight end that Washington has on the roster. And I mean that. And you really take a look at Logan Thomas as a blocker and as a receiving threat. I get it. He had the injury, but he is just not worth what the salary cap hit is coming up. And he's just not as effective as he was in the past. You take a look, 8.7 mil cap hit around that for Logan Thomas next year, only a 3.5 dead cap hit. You could split it up over time with post June 1st on that as well. And then John Bates, Cole Turner, there's nothing against those guys, but I don't think we have a legit tight end 1 threat on this roster yet. I think Logan Thomas was that before his injury. I don't think he will be that moving forward. And I don't see Eric Bieniemy coming into a room where he went from Travis Kelce and saying, hey, Ron, I think we can do something with Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner. I didn't forget about Amari Rodgers. He shows some potential, but once again, not a true legit tight end 1 threat. So I was really glad to see 3 of these guys on the list that Washington met with at the Combine. They met with people at the Senior Bowl as well. But obviously the one that broke the internet, Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia. 6'6" is how they had him listed. I think he's more 6'7", 6'8", 11-inch hands. The arm length of a tackle, 34.375, a 4.64 40-yard dash. Like, this guy is a tight end built like a lineman but can run like a wide receiver. It's ridiculous. And what a lot of people are forgetting, people are like, can you would you draft this guy at 16, Josh? I think you can make the case for him and Michael Mayer at 16. I'll tell you why. Because when you draft one of these guys, it's not every tight end, but Darnell Washington and Michael Mayer in particular, if you draft one of these tight ends, you're also drafting a really good lineman. Darnell Washington is a phenomenal blocker. Michael Mayer is a phenomenal blocker. Got the strength. You see the sled drills. You see him on the field, but also you watch the tapes at Georgia. Darnell Washington was clearing guys out. So imagine this. You got Darnell Washington line up on the right side next to whoever our right tackle is. Ball snap. He chips off the edge rusher, knocks him on his butt. Then you see this poor linebacker like, oh, great. A little delayed route to the outside, a little 10-yard cut, whatever. This linebacker's like, great. This is my guy that I got to put up with. Or he just runs it straight up the seam. Like Darnell Washington had a pretty good, route tree for how he was used at Georgia, figuring what they have with Brock Bowers on the team. But there's so much this guy can do. Blocking, but then also receiving. He's just an athletic freak. I think you can absolutely make the case for getting this guy in the first round. I think he's snuck into the middle to late first round picks. So you never know. Like I said, Michael Mayer's up there too. Some people have him over Michael Mayer now. I still think Michael Mayer is the most complete tight end in the draft. But man, Darnell Washington just built in a lab kind of guy. And then outside of Darnell Washington, they also met with Tucker Kraft, who's projected for me late second round, early third round guy. A really good athletic score at the combine, and then also had some really good reps on tape. I love what I saw out of him. A smaller school guy, went to South Dakota State. Really good tapes. A little undersized, but I'm not worried about that, to be honest with you. I would like to see him become a little bit of a better blocker, but still just another guy with a lot of upside in the receiving game. Much better receiver than John Bates. And I'd say right now, Logan Thomas. Cole Turner, still waiting to see how he translates to the NFL. Looked really good in college, but still just really want to see there. So Tucker Kraft, add him to the list of tight ends if you haven't already. Phenomenal tape. A lot of draft people know who Tucker Kraft is. And then one of my underrated tight ends, I'm not just saying this because he did play at Penn State, but I saw this guy play every game last season. And then just seeing him play in person too. Brenton Strange, I'm telling you, he's going to shock a lot of people. Once again, he might be a little undersized, 6'3" and 0.7. The weight, 253, it is what it is. But 4'7", really good vertical, 36, broad jump at 10.04. Just a really athletic guy. But he had some of the most impressive touchdowns out of any tight end last year. The guy just, after the catch, he is phenomenal. He's a really good receiving threat, but also a really good blocker too for that run game at Penn State that killed it last year. But I'm telling you, Brenton Strange came in and filled in for Theo Johnson while he was hurt. And Brenton Strange was the best tight end on a loaded tight end team last year. I love Brenton Strange. I think he's another one of these middle round guys, fourth round, maybe fifth round, like the latest kind of guy that can come in and surprise a lot of people, but get the ball in his hands. He's a playmaker, whether he's jumping over people, he's hurdling, diving, doing front flips into the end zone. The guy is just a freak athlete. Love what Brenton Strange brings. So refreshing once again. Ron Rivera said, I think it was day one of the combine, that he likes what he sees in the tight ends that he has on the team. But still, I'm not buying it. You have to upgrade. Logan Thomas has to go. Fill in that tight end one spot in the first 3-4 rounds. I don't care. Sam Laporta, Payne Durham, you name it. Get one of these guys on the team. So rounding it out, there's 4 more guys I'm going to do quick hits on offense. Kind of surprising, guys, to be honest with you, for a couple of reasons. This first one I tweeted out and kind of blew up because people were like, oh, no, here we go. It's because he's a quarterback. That's Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA, 6'2", 203, big-time playmaker, a lot of experience at UCLA. I love that about a quarterback. I love a quarterback that was in college for a long time. A lot of experience. He's not like 26 like Stetson Bennett is. But still, this is a guy that's a big-time playmaker, has some upside, could easily be an Eric Bieniemy type guy. You need depth. Like you saw what happened to San Francisco, not even just saying Brock Purdy turned out to be like their starting quarterback of the future possibly. But also you just seen what happened in the playoffs, how it just collapsed. Josh Johnson's in there and it just did not go well. You need that depth. You need someone who can come in. Like a backup quarterback is a very important position. If you can fill that in one of these later round picks, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, I don't care. and you can get the highest upside guy, someone who's dangerous on his feet, but can also sling the rock, then do it. I have no problem with that. I don't care about Jake Fromm being on the roster. Right now, all we have is Sam Howell. And yes, we might sign back Heineke. We might not. If not, we're probably going to bring in another veteran, a guy like Jacoby Brissett, something like that I would love. Gardner Minshew, somebody. I don't care. Drew Lock, whatever. But still, I would love a third quarterback option that can come in if needed and not just crap the bed like Josh Johnson did against the 49ers. So not mad at that at all if they decide to use a late round pick on Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Just watch his tapes. Once again, really good at UCLA. All right, 3 more guys. 2 of them are running backs. That's Tyjae Spears out of Tulane. Blew up the Senior Bowl. Looked really good at the combine. I think he was battling a groin injury, so didn't do too much at the combine, but still didn't need it. 5'10", 201. Great year last year. They go from one of the worst teams in FBS to, 10-2, beating USC in the bowl game, just shocking the world. I mean, looked great. And Tyjae Spears was the spark for that entire team. He is just a home run player. I think that intrigues Eric Bieniemy. You don't know what's going to happen. I think J.D. McKissic's gone. The neck injury looked pretty bad, pretty serious. I don't know what that's going to look like. But then also, like, what's moving forward? Maybe not this year coming up, but the year after that, maybe Gibson's not here. Maybe you have Brian Robinson. You need someone to fill in that second running back spot. I think he would do that very well. And then another running back they met with, Eric Gray out of Oklahoma, 5'9.5", almost 5'10", 207 pounds. Once again, could be a future guy. Could be a J.D. McKissic, running back 3 role. Fill in. Don't know what's going to happen with Jared Patterson either. They just re-signed Jonathan Williams. So just lots to kind of, sift through on the running back room. But also, once again, remember, Eric Bieniemy is taking over. Like, he wants to mold this roster to how he wants it to be. So maybe some of these guys that you really like aren't in the cards for EB moving forward. And then lastly, this guy had to pull his relative athletic score because he was projected to be second best all time out of all wide receivers, right behind Calvin Johnson. Then he did his agility test. It dropped a little bit. That's Bryce Ford Wheaton out of West Virginia. You might not know his name, not a household guy, but I'm telling you, I watched this guy so many times last year, and he had some crazy catches. He had a couple drops too, but just when he catches the ball, like a contested catch, big body guy, 6'4", 221 with 41-inch vertical, 10.09 broad, a 4.38 40. I mean, these are bonkers. I mean, these are crazy numbers, man. And once again, you look at a guy like Cam Sims, who is a free agent. This could be a potential wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 kind of guy, just a big body option, not even just a red zone threat, but just a big body guy that can get deep, that can catch some big time catches for you. Said he spent the most time with the Commanders, the Jets, the Vikings, and the Chargers, and just put crazy numbers up. West Virginia's offense was so bad. It's always been bad for the last few years since like Steve Slayton, it seems like. It's funny because I tweeted out, like, someone's going to get Bryce Ford Wheaton's going to make a team really happy in one of these late round picks. And then sure enough, like an hour later, it came out that he met with the Commanders a lot. So that's kind of refreshing to see too. Like, I don't think Eric Bieniemy cares like about, some of these depth guys on our roster. Like, he wants to fill in with what he wants. And I'm cool with that. Let this guy build out the roster to what he wants. But nonetheless, guys, appreciate y'all tuning in to Taking Command with Josh Taylor on the JTFB YouTube channel. Combine wrapped up. Super fun time. Really wish I could have gone, but I'll be there next year for sure. Bring y'all some content. And free agency is almost here. It's so close. The free agency, the frenzy is about to happen. You remember how crazy last year was. Got a lot of stuff cooking up. Looking at it on my computer screen right now. Super excited to share with y'all, not only just with Washington, but with the NFL, covering all of free agency. I've got some sick things cooking up. So subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter so you don't miss out on none of the free agency frenzy coming up. What is it? March 15th, I think it technically starts. I'm taking off work those first like 2 or 3 days, so I don't miss out on anything. But I'll see y'all next time here on the channel.